Hi there, and welcome. Have you ever noticed that after the ball drops on January 1st, there's a whole second wave of New Year's celebrations just a few weeks later? It happens all over the world. Well, today we're going to unravel the fantastic story behind why we get to celebrate the New Year twice. So let's just lay it all out. On one hand, you've got the New Year we all know, January 1st. It's on the calendar, same day, every single year. You can count on it. But then you have this other New Year, the Lunar New Year. And this one seems to float around. Sometimes it's in late January, sometimes it's in early February. So what's the deal? Why isn't it a fixed date? Well, it all boils down to a tale of two very different ways of looking at time, two totally different calendars. Which brings us right to the big question, right? Why the different dates? I mean, why not just pick one day and throw one massive global party? The answer, it turns out, isn't about some kind of magic. It's all about how we measure the passing of time, specifically which giant celestial body we're paying attention to. And that's where we get our two main systems, one that's all about following the sun and another that's really focused on the moon. Okay, so first up is the Gregorian calendar. This is the one that most of us use every day. It's a solar calendar, which just means it's perfectly lined up with the Earth's 365-day trip around the sun. That's why January 1st never moves. It's neat, tidy, and super predictable. But the Lunar New Year plays by a different set of rules. It uses a lunisolar calendar. It's primarily based on the cycles of the moon, which is why the date shifts. But here's the clever part. Every so often, it gets adjusted to make sure it doesn't drift too far away from the seasons. And the New Year officially kicks off on the second new moon after the winter solstice. And that's why it's always on the move. But this calendar is so much more than just dates. It's tied to something I know you've heard about, the Chinese zodiac, which has this incredible origin story called the Great Race. See, instead of a different astrological sign every month, the Chinese zodiac gives an animal to an entire year. It runs on a 12-year cycle that just keeps repeating, and it's believed that people born in a certain year take on the traits of that year's animal. So how did they pick the animals? Well, according to legend, the Great Jade Emperor wanted a way to measure time, so he organized a massive race. He declared that the first 12 animals to cross the finish line would get a year named in their honor. And what a race it was. You had the clever rat who tricked the hardworking ox into giving it a ride and then jumped off at the end to snag first place. And the mighty dragon, who totally could have won, actually came in fifth because it stopped to help a village that needed rain. Each animal's finish tells you something about its character, and that's how we got the zodiac cycle we know today. So here they are, the whole lineup, from the witty rat all the way to the generous pig. Each one of these animals is said to pass on its most famous traits to its year. Pretty cool, right? So now we get the why and the when. But what about the how? How do millions, even billions of people around the globe actually celebrate this holiday? Well, first, you have to understand the sheer scale of this thing. The holiday period is known as Chunyan, and it triggers the largest annual human migration on the entire planet. It's all about one thing, going home to be with family. And if you want to put a number on it, just look at 2015. During that holiday period, there were an estimated 3.7 billion trips made. That's almost half the world's population on the move. It just shows you how incredibly important that family connection is. And the traditions themselves are beautiful. It all starts with cleaning your house from top to bottom, literally sweeping away last year's bad luck. Then comes the main event, a massive reunion dinner with family on New Year's Eve. You'll see the color red everywhere, symbolizing happiness and good fortune. And of course, you've got the famous red envelopes, or hongbao, filled with money to wish good fortune upon kids and elders. But, things change. And like any ancient tradition, this one is starting to evolve, especially with the younger generations. So while a trip home is still absolutely central for so many, there's a growing trend among young people to do something totally different. Use the holiday to travel the world. And we're not talking about a small number here. Back in 2019, people from China took over 6.3 million trips overseas just during this holiday period. So what's behind this huge shift? Well, for some, the reason is, honestly, it's pretty relatable. Take 26-year-old Fishlin. She said she travels to avoid all those awkward questions from relatives about her dating life. I think a lot of us can probably sympathize with that feeling. So, does this mean tradition is just fading away? Not at all. It just seems to be adapting, finding new ways to exist in our modern globalized world. Because what people are discovering is that even if you're thousands of miles away from home, you don't have to leave the spirit of the holiday behind. I mean, check out this amazing story from a traveler named Vincent Wong. He was in Cusco, Peru, of all places, and he found a Chinese chef who stayed open late just so he and his friends could have a traditional New Year's dinner. He said it ended up being one of the most memorable New Year's dinners he'd ever had. And that really makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe tradition isn't about being in one specific place, but about carrying a certain feeling with you. As our world gets smaller and more connected, the big question isn't whether old traditions will survive, but how we find creative new ways to carry them with us no matter where we end up.